You can't do that as a research organization because you got to create a track record because nobody wants to work with you. It's a chicken and the egg. Nobody wants to work with you without a track. And by the way, the egg came first, just randomly. You can't have a chicken without a fucking egg. The egg has to come first. It just has to happen. But anyways.
Thanks for that. Now we know.
Yeah, now you know.
Thanks.
It's the egg.
Ahoy, shipmates. Welcome back to another season of On the Wind. I'm your host, Andy Schell, recording from Mission Control container in Sweden. It's hot today. I've got the door open. I've got to figure out how to get some shade in here because this thing sits out in the sun and it's like a solar oven in the summertime. But it won't be long that I'm out of here tomorrow. So I guess this will be a week old when you hear this. But I'm heading to Spica tomorrow to meet the crew for the Gotland Runt race. They're coming on Wednesday. Mia and I just got done with a family vacation. We had Axel out sailing in the archipelago outside Stockholm for a week. It was spectacular. I am just reminded how much I like small boats and how beautiful the archipelago is. Axel loved it. I'm just in a fantastic mood this week. It was such a fun trip. Very excited to do Gotland Runt. And then after that, my dad is flying over from the U.S. and me, my dad, and Axel are going to sail from Sandhamn back into Stockholm or Enköping with Axel. So another week of cruising. So I get to show my dad everything that's over here. I'm so excited, actually, that I'll give you a little tease here. I'm going to start doing 1 or 2 trips a year on Spica in the Stockholm archipelago and surrounding areas. So very different trips than what we do on Falcon and Eastbjorn. The boat is super simple. It's more akin to camping than offshore sailing. We'll probably sail out to Åland, maybe sail down to Gotland. I'll probably do the Gotland Runt race again next summer. I'm just super inspired to have my own boat in my backyard that I can do some much simpler sailing than we do on the big boats at 59 North. So stay tuned for that and how that's going to work. I haven't fully developed the idea yet. Ready, fire, aim, baby. As you know, most of my ideas are half-baked, but there you go. That's going to be on the horizon. What else is on the horizon? Speaking of the other boats, Eastbjorn's 2026 calendar is now published. Lots of fun stuff happening in 2026 that August and I have been teasing on the quarterdeck. He has planned a voyage out to northern Iceland to watch the total solar eclipse at sea, which is freaking epic. So if you want to do that, that's on the website now and available for booking in 2026. They're also going to sail down to the start of the Golden Globe race, the next edition of the Golden Globe race, which will probably be somewhere in France. That's going to be on there. So some longer trips for Eastbjorn in 2026, a little further afield from Norway than we've been doing the last 2 years. So very excited for that. That's all up on 59-north.com/2026. This season of On the Wind is sponsored by our online membership platform, The Quarterdeck. Deep dives on the art of seamanship. August and I started this after COVID, during COVID in 2020, and it's grown to become a really cool place where August, Mia, myself, and the rest of the 59 North team share ideas, thoughts, articles, podcasts, videos. Basically, we share our knowledge to a really cool community that has been growing there for the last 4 years. I think we have about 400 members right now, and a lot of people contribute on there, their own boat stories. When we started it, I didn't anticipate the community aspect would be such a cool part of it, and that's actually what makes it. So I really encourage you guys, if you're interested in talking to us directly, interacting with us directly, learning your thoughts on seamanship, sharing your thoughts on seamanship, learning about seamanship from us, sign up there. You can get a 2-week free trial if you go to quarterdeck.59-north.com. See if you like it. If you do like it, there's a yearly membership option there. We also have less expensive memberships for families, as well as free memberships for apprentices and things like that. So check that out, quarterdeck.59-north.com. Very much hope to see you on our online seamanship platform. You're listening to On the Wind, my podcast about offshore sailing. I'm your host, Andy Schell. Friend of the pod and legendary sailor Matt Rutherford returns to the show to shoot the shit aboard his schooner MARIE THARPE. Matt hosted a small gathering of friends in Annapolis back in April aboard his boat, and he and I got warmed up by getting out the mics and mixing it up at the salon table down below on a rainy, chilly day. Matt was sipping tequila, I think. I had a beer, and the conversation flowed, as it's wont to do with Matt, across a myriad of topics from Arctic sailing to LSD. Enjoy.
All right, we good?
We're rolling, man. It's your show now.
All right.
You've taken over my equipment.
All right, good. Hello and welcome to Single Handed. I am
Double-handed today.
Hello and welcome to, well, maybe. Are we actually going to do double-handed?
Listen,
we did one, and I think I went on a tangent about LSD for about 20 minutes.
And it was great. It was
oh,
great.
Yeah? What was the feedback? How did
That's
that
right.
work? Did anybody actually say anything, or where did it go? Like,
It's there. It's in the. You can still listen to it.
is it just like with all the other podcasts? Or
It's on the Wind.
So
Yeah.
are we going to be doing more of these things, or what is the future of double-handed?
Let's see how it goes. I mean, let's see. We'll ask me that at the end of this.
Yeah, well, I guess we have to do this more than once a year.
It is. I'm here for the week though, so we could like bang out like one a day for the next week.
I got to take a boat to New York tomorrow.
Shit,
I
that's
got
right.
deliveries. I got deliveries coming out of my deliveries.
Yeah.
I got the delivery that I'm not really looking forward to.
What's that?
I mean, normally, I don't know, maybe I've gotten spoiled partially over time, or maybe I'm just smarter than I used to be when it comes to boats. It has nothing to do with the boat. It's a mid-90s Beneteau 351, which is a fine boat, whatever. It's back when they had a single wheel in the back instead of two wheels.
Yep.
I always preferred the older Beneteaus with a single wheel, partially because that goddamn Beneteau 58 that I took across the Atlantic, the cable broke between the two wheels, and we had no more steering.
That's right.
And then I got in there and I started looking, and I realized that when I talked to somebody else, it was the fifth Beneteau they had done in the Azores in Horta. There's that little shop. I can't remember. It's a the hell's the
Mid-Atlantic
guy?
Yacht Services.
Yeah,
Duncan.
Yeah. So Duncan, and then there's this other dude, and they're like, yeah, this is the fifth one, and I'm like, the fifth one, and
That's not a good statistic.
what they claim is that Beneteau makes the cables to connect the the two wheels, and they make them all the same size. So they make like 1,000 of them or something for all their different boats, but they don't up the size for the boat. So it was just too small of a cable, I guess. But anyways, that's not the problem. The problem is this boat is on a mooring ball, and this guy is day sailor, and he hasn't touched it in like 2 years, and it's just the motor is the only thing.
Where are you going?
I'm just going to New York City. From here, so
Yeah.
it's I don't know what that is, a couple like 250 miles
with
or,
working systems and stuff, but it's a pretty
Right.
long trip if you lose your motor.
yeah, well, that's the problem, right? It's
Yeah.
an old Perkins, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with the Perkins, but I went over, had the owner start it. The belt was squealing like a son of a bitch. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to adjust that at the very least. I found an impeller just the other day for it. Got it yesterday, like emergency in, because that impeller is probably like 10 years old or something. So, and there's no spares. I got to get Raycors, but it's me and Simon. So at least, it's like me and Simon could get that boat around Cape Horn.
That's right, yeah.
So, I mean, it's fine. It's just a stock bin. It was dirty as shit on the deck, which is like, fuck.
I hate that.
I hate
just
that. Dirty, just black, dirty decks. So, and when's the last time you did a delivery?
Well, it's funny. We were just talking about this the other day, Mia and I, how like it's so nice now that we don't have to rely on deliveries. We can make our own schedule now, and you're not on someone else's schedule. Hang on, sorry, I'm just shutting my phone off. The last time I did a delivery was probably like 2015, huh? Yeah, maybe 2017.
Jeez,
I took a
it's
boat
that long,
from,
huh?
me and Tom went from here down to Florida and my dad on this was pretty funny actually, on a Tartan 40. Really nice boat. We did a little bit on the ICW, a little bit offshore. It was a cold trip, so it was either fall or spring, I don't remember. But we got all the way the hell down there. We went offshore, came back in at, I think in Jacksonville, and then went down. It was blowing like shit offshore, and we stayed inside for a while. And the mast, I think it was a 40, and the mast was like just under the bridge heights. But there was also an extra high tide. So we got down. There was one more bridge between us and the marina we were supposed to go to. And the tide was like a supermoon tide or something. And we couldn't get under the bridge. And the next low enough tide to get us through was like 3 weeks away. I was like, fuck this. So we had to go back. We backtracked like 50 miles to the nearest marina because we were like in the middle of some swamp somewhere. And I was like, Doug, I'm sorry. Like, I've gotten the boat as far as I can take it. And there was some reason we didn't go offshore besides the weather. It was something was sketchy.
It was a Tartan what?
Tartan 40C, I think. 400. Tartan 400.
Okay, yeah. So
relatively new.
Yeah, the newer-ish generation.
Yeah, it was a cool boat.
Yeah, I like those.
But I remember
Tartans.
like we'd anchor out. It was me, Tom, and my dad. We anchored out. We watched Jurassic Park one night on TV, and like going down the ICW, it's so boring.
Oh my
it's
God.
like 12-hour days, and then you anchor.
Where
and
did
then
you start?
Do it all
How
over.
much of the ICW did you have to do?
Probably a third of it, maybe.
Oh
because
shit!
we dipped in and out depending on where we were going. But there was a reason we didn't want to go back offshore, and I don't remember what it was. It was something was sketchy on the boat. I don't recall. But yeah, that was probably the last delivery I did. Incidentally, somebody asked me, and a former 59 North crew wants me to take a Saga 43 with him from Seattle to San Francisco.
Seattle
in September.
Deep draft or shallow draft? Because that makes a big difference with that boat.
It's deep draft.
All right, because they did a shallow draft and the rudder is shorter.
Correct.
And,
no, it's the one that's
it's like 7 foot or 7'1". It's a deep,
and that's
deep
the same
draft.
boat Mia and I did an Atlantic Circle on back in 2012.
Oh, you guys did?
On a Saga. Not that very boat, but the same design.
Oh
Saga
yeah,
43.
I remember one of your crew got pushed out and bailed, even though they teach sailing classes. We don't have to get into that. Remember that in the Azores? You cost the owner a bunch of money. Anyways, I do remember that. I remember that too.
I do remember that.
Yeah. That's a Bob Perry design, isn't it?
Yes,
that
it is. Thank you for
43?
changing the subject there. Well done.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite boats, actually. That's like the one boat I recommend most often to people that are looking for that kind of boat because they're just like fun to sail. They're well built. Well, they had some building issues.
They did have
but
a few. From what
they
I
can be
understand.
corrected. They're inexpensive and they're just cool boats. Yes,
They have narrow beams on them.
Yeah, so they had like
they're hot rods.
They were tender, so like a lot of owners put like a lead shoe on the bottom of the keel to make them a little stiffer. Okay. So anyway, that's like on the table, and
that'd be cool.
I just haven't decided if I want to take the time or not.
Well, I mean, deliveries are nice because you get to sail a lot of different types of boats, and I don't know how much that matters to you at this point.
Well, what I miss about doing deliveries, it's like I can just round up my friends and go sailing. Mm-hmm. Like I don't have to teach. It's like very
that's true.
Mellow.
Yeah.
But then that's great when everything's going great. But then it's also like if the boat's shitty or if things start breaking, it's like it's not your boat, so you don't have as much. Like I have control over everything now, and if anything breaks on Falcon, it's my fault.
Right.
So I can live with the consequences. So, but I do miss part of it. Nowadays, it's just the time. I mean, I spend 10 to 12 weeks a year sailing Falcon. You know, I've got a 4-year-old, I've got family and stuff. So it's like, do I actually want to take the time to go sail on someone else's boat? That I have to come to terms with. I don't know the answer to that yet.
Well, the money is there, at least. It's something. You can make an additional chunk of change.
Well, that's it. And actually, I'm racing Spica, our little boat, in Gotland Runt this summer. And I did it 3 years ago just with friends, but this year we're selling it to paying crew. And that money is going to go straight into the Spica fund. So now I'll have some money to like make that boat better because that boat's like old and original.
You're
1977.
You're 34.
34 footer.
That's a cool looking boat.
So the money that money that crew pay for that will go right into we'll just keep a little boat fund for that, and then same thing with like because we don't take that much money from the business right now. So like doing a delivery would be like a substantial little income boost for the two of us.
Well, yeah, and if you could do
That's
long
outside
distance,
the business.
you know, like I wouldn't mess with the short ones,
Yeah.
you know, but if you could do long distance, like a transatlantic delivery, for instance, you can make a lot. I think I made like 18 grand or something off my
You're
last
not
transatlantic.
charging enough, man. You could make more than that.
Well, I mean, I'm happy with it, I guess.
No, that's
but
good.
you're right. I'm under Simon. Simon always bumps his prices before me.
And that's what this trip is from Seattle. It's a guy who sailed with us on 59 North and wants me to go with him and two of his friends to coach, basically.
Yeah.
So I can justify charging.
And
a
I
little
don't
bit
have
more.
owners on board. I almost never have. I mean, I do them. I don't mind doing them with owners on board. I've only had one bad experience, and the guy he built the boat. You know, it wasn't a bad experience, but he didn't really build it with his own hands. He paid people to do it, but he spent like 10 years, and the boat was his baby, and he was really nervous offshore.
Yep.
And it wasn't bad, but it was the only time where I got into like a conflict with a. You know, every other time the owners have been just super excited and happy to be out there, but I would say like at least 80% of my deliveries have no owners.
Yep.
So it is a lot more chill. You don't know where anything
It's more
is.
chill. Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Yeah,
nobody's
you don't know
there to
anything,
tell
but it's
you
just
like.
more chill. I mean, I remember like, Tom and Lee, two of my friends in the cannons business, like they became they're two of my best friends, and they became friends because they did deliveries with me as volunteer crew. That's how we met. Like back in the day, like we did a trip. Tom, Lee, my dad, and I think this other guy, Chuck. I think he was on that trip. We did a Gulf Star 60 from here to Long Island, and the boat was a piece of shit. Like every system on it was broken. There was no bilge pumps.
We ran like out of 70s boat or something. The old Gulf Stars.
It was cool. It was a catch. It was a cool
in
boat.
there a day. It would have been a badass boat.
It had in-mast roller furling from like 1980. Like it
was it where the roller furling is outside of the mast?
No, it was
those
inside.
ones?
Yeah, no,
Oh,
I know
okay.
you know this was inside the mast. But we ran out of fuel like within sight of the dock we were going to, and had to get did we run out of fuel or ran aground or both? I don't know. But that was like, those were fun days. Like you just like troubleshooting, figuring shit out. Mia and I did some trips. Like one summer we did like 4 in a row back and forth from here to New England. That one was a Corbin 39. We did Mia's off the mic over here on the other side of the room with my mom and dad.
Was it the center cockpit or aft cockpit?
Aft cockpit. Cool boat, man. Those Corbins are cool.
I was on one in the Arctic up in 2018.
And they're faster than they look. It looks like a stubby, chubby little thing, but they're like cord hull and they're fin keel, and they're like pretty good sailboats.
Yeah, double ender,
flush deck. Yeah, I know they're cool. They're fun boats. So yeah, I'm nostalgic for my boat delivery days, and it's not like they're over. It's just like I gotta be very careful about what I say yes to now, because I got so much to do, so much that and like to balance, so much to juggle.
Right.
And I want to be home. I want to sail my boat. I want to be here to see family. Like Axel's back home with my dad right now, so we're here just the two of us to see. Like there's too many things that demand my time, and I have to be very careful about what I say yes to. I want to be able to say yes to the things I truly want to do.
Yeah,
I'm in a position now where I don't have to do things I don't want to do.
Right. Well, I'm sort of not really in that position. The nonprofit doesn't pay well, so I have to make money, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, I like doing deliveries enough, and I like the fact that every boat is different. The gear is different. You go on it, you don't know shit.
Yep.
You know, you look for the through hauls, you check the engine oil, you throw some grogroceries on.
It's like a real adventure. It's more of an adventure.
But I've gotten better boats over the years, and that's where I've got more pay. That's why this Beneteau is a perfectly fine little boat for this guy. You know, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just like you get on there and the deck is real dirty, and it's not his fault. He just bought it. It's the previous guy didn't clean it, you know, and it's just like, oh, fuck, you know. And now I'm used to delivering, you know, I'm going to bring this oyster up later, and, you know, we're at the 78
Jose's
foot.
Boat. Our mutual friend Jose.
It ain't Jose's boat
formerly
no more.
Jose's boat.
Yeah, formerly. But I'm now working with the new owner to bring it up, which is
cool.
Which is probably the end of the era, probably the last time.
Yeah.
Oh, who knows? You never know.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get these carryovers, and there might be a Hinckley delivery after that. But
cool.
But you know, there's ups and downs with it. But you know, like we were saying, if the owner's not on board, it does make it a little more chill, and you're just getting out there and sailing.
Yeah.
You're just doing your watches. You know, it's different than the research stuff where you got to have this whole extra element of the science component, which takes over everything, which complicates the living shit out of everything. Or like you're doing, you have people on board.
Yeah.
That complicates it. From your perspective, you got these people, you're trying to make sure they don't hurt themselves. You're trying to teach them sailing.
It's a lot. You have to be on more. Like you're just always on. Whereas like if you're doing delivery with friends, like you said, it's more chill. You can switch off and relax a little bit.
Right.
You can never relax on our trips.
Yeah.
You're just constantly on alert. And it's just tiring.
Yeah,
but
if they're good crew, you can sleep while they're on watch and not worry about it.
I mean, that's a nice thing. We at least on Falcon have a mate, like another professional. So like when I'm off watch, I can really be off watch.
But you're always off watch, aren't you?
Me?
Uh-huh.
Always off watch?
Well, I don't know. You don't do a watch.
Yeah, I do.
Well, do you have a schedule?
Yeah, we have to. So for commercial coding, we actually even have to log our hours of rest and stuff as part of like the maritime labor stuff.
Is that some European thing?
Kind of, yeah. It's like British flag rules. So we have to. We run watches 6 hours on, 6 hours off in daylight, and 4 and 4 overnight for both staff and crew. That we're on a different schedule than them, so we overlap. So like, so we get to sail with everybody. But basically,
that's a good idea.
So like, and we have to then log when we're off because there's like maritime laws that state that you have to have so many hours of rest in a given 24-hour period and stuff. So, and one of us legally has to be like both can't be asleep at the same time.
How many hours of rest is the legal? Or how many hours can you work?
You can't work. You need at least 10 hours of rest in a 24-hour period, and you can't work more than so many hours in a given 7 days. I forget what it is. It's just barely reachable with a 2-person staff because like somebody always has to be up. It's really meant for like larger ships and crews and stuff where you're on a bigger crew. Mm-hmm. You can just about hit it with 2 people, and we have to log all that stuff. So it's just
do you have problem finding crew ever? Because that's a pretty, especially with this.
So terminology wise, we call our customers crew. And we call our skippers and mates staff. It gets very confusing otherwise.
All right. Well, the person on the boat, you have staff that like doesn't get on the boat too, right? Like
yes,
you have
so sailing staff and admin staff, but we don't really have any. Even our admin staff. Laura,
well, how about first mate? How's that for a nice all-around
Sure,
term?
skipper. Well, skippers and first mates, whatever.
All right,
But to answer your question, no, we don't have any trouble finding staff. We have more people that want to work for us and are qualified than we have space for. But that was on purpose. A big challenge for us last year was that we were understaffed. Like we had enough people to run it, but if somebody got sick or a bunch of us have kids, if there was anything that one of us had to drop out, we were like scrambling to find a fill-in. So we made it, especially on Eastbjorn, because Eastbjorn's a Norwegian license. And it was just August and John Amtrup. So it's like, all right, we need to bolster our staff. So we ended up hiring a lot more freelance people in the last year for both boats. And now, and getting them trained up and like into the system and how we do things and stuff. And now we have a core staff. There's 6 of us that are full-time, like on retainer basically. And then we have a few other freelancers that pop in and out. But we now have more people that have sailed on the boat as a member of staff. And I just have a few trips for them. Like I don't have full-time work for them, but now they know the system and they know that was the deal. I said, look, all right, now you're trained up. Now I can call you up as a standby, basically. They get like 1 or 2 trips a year guaranteed. And then beyond that, they're fill-in case somebody else gets sick. Now I can't guarantee
hard,
that they're
though,
available.
Right, because
they're doing other stuff.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
at least they have sailed with us and know the drill.
Yeah.
And because the Falcon's British flagged, that's like the Yachtmaster license. So it's pretty easy to find people that at least have the qualifications. Because like everybody that ever goes through Clipper, anybody that ever sailed professionally on a British flagged yacht has all the certifications that we need because we're also British flagged. And now that we're in that like group of people, it's easy to find those people.
Yeah, I mean, find a delivery crew or staff.
Yeah,
it can be challenging because the people that, I mean, what kind of people can do deliveries? Generally speaking, deliveries come up last minute. They could be like 2 weeks, like a Caribbean trip, with air, flights and everything else. You're looking at a couple of weeks. So you have derelicts and you have retired people.
That's right.
A
derelicts and retired people.
Yeah, a derelict can't hold a job anyways.
What if you're derelict and retired?
Yeah, well, you're kind
You're
of
highly
are.
qualified.
If you are derelict, you're kind of are retired. I mean, that's sort of the thing. But
Mia, do you think those beers are cold yet? Do you want to get me one?
yeah, they're cold enough. I mean,
Can you get me a glass?
You
too?
have in England they drip them warm.
We're not in England, Matt.
It feels like England out there today. It's all
chilly and rainy. Yeah,
chilly.
So
rainy,
derelict
cloudy.
retirees. That's who you're looking for.
No, well, I mean that's who you get. I mean that's because everybody else has a job. They can't
Yeah.
just drop what they're doing for 2 weeks, or they got a wife and kids, or whatever, a mortgage, or whatever the hell it is, And so it can become tricky, And I'm also like, you get worried about. You get a lot of. I get a lot of emails about people wanting to be crew on things, But you don't know who these people are, and talk is cheap, and are they going to drive you crazy? And
I mean, is it better for you? Would you rather go with just like you and Simon double-handed than with 3 people that you have to teach?
Yeah, definitely. My deliveries was always me and one other person for years and years. It was 4 on, 4 off, or 5 on, 5 off for years. And then only recently have we brought in a third person sometimes. With this one coming up, this next delivery to New York I'm about to do, that's just me and Simon. So that's, 4 on, 4 off. Yeah. But I like to do 3 on, 6 off if I can. But that means you need to find 2 other people that actually know how to sail a boat at some level and do a watch. And I don't have to worry about them because, that's how that goes. But it's not nearly the same as trying to find crew for like an Arctic trip. Like that's way, 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 way harder because
of the time commitment, right?
Yeah,
like
well, not just the time commitment. I mean, maybe I'm just being selfish a little bit over here, but I have to live with them. Like on a delivery, I'm not really. I'm just hanging out with you for like 10 days or 2 weeks. Like you can bug me for 2 weeks, I can put up with it. But for 5 months, and there's nowhere to go. Like typically when we're up in Greenland, or really the whole duration of the trip, we might get off the boat for 2 hours a week. Unless we get to a town and then everybody just kind of runs around, you let them just run around town and get it out of there. Greenlandic towns are small. There's not really a lot to do anyways.
I've been to Greenland now.
Yeah, you've been to the southern tip. It's supposed to be gorgeous.
Dude, it was spectacular.
I've heard and you had no ice when you were there?
Very little. We had no sea ice at all. A few icebergs.
Yeah, supposedly that fjord doesn't always open that time of year.
Well, it was wide open last year.
I'm not surprised. It's things are warming up for whatever reason people want to believe, but it's happening. So
I was going to ask you on the topic of deliveries. Have you ever traveled somewhere to pick up a boat and been like, no, fuck this boat's a mess, I'm not doing this? Have you ever like left a boat and said, nope, not doing it?
Simon has, because Simon has been doing it longer than been alive. He has several of those stories.
Yeah.
Where he will, and one time he found out the boat had sunk and they brought it back up like 2 weeks or something before he was supposed to do it.
Whoops.
Yeah, he didn't even put his bags on a boat. He just walked away from it. And there are some delivery skippers that are kind of notorious for shit, because it's like being a yacht broker in the same way, where you get a reputation for delivering or selling a certain yacht. You know, if you get a reputation for selling Hylises and oysters, you're going to be making money.
Right.
If you got them for selling old Catalina 20, pop top 25s or whatever, you're going to make shit.
Yeah.
So there are delivery skippers that just seem to get shit, boats after shit boats. But I don't know. I've had a lot of different things happen on deliveries.
So you've never had to leave? You've never left a boat?
I'm trying to think if I've ever had one. There's one time I didn't get a boat to its destination, but that's because the rudder broke. It didn't fall off, but the shaft inside of the rudder would spin and the rudder wouldn't work. So we lost steerage. Now I was about 50 miles offshore when that happened, and I did get the boat close enough to land to get pulled in by a towboat US. And so I didn't lose the boat, because rudder loss is the number one reason people abandon ship. But I didn't get the boat to the top of Long Island. I got it to Ocean City.
There was a boat just in the Pacific last week, a Swedish flag boat that sank because it had aluminum rudder stock and it sheared off inside the boat and was banging around and punched a hole through the boat, and the boat sank. It's all on video. You can look it up. The owner, there was other boats nearby. They had to get in the life raft, and the boat just sank out from under them. And he has video of the rudder stock banging around inside the lazarette.
Who the hell puts an aluminum rudder on a boat? What is it? Do you know what boat this was?
It wasn't an aluminum. It was aluminum stock. It was big. It was 6 inches around. It was an Arkona, which is a Swedish built.
I've never even heard of that boat.
It's kind of
like metal.
No. They look like a normal production boat. I think they're have a pretty good reputation.
Well, yeah, sounds like it.
Well,
it sounds great.
Maybe not anymore. I've been to the Arkona factory. I think isn't that where was that a different builder when we brought Spica down with Ryan and Sophie from where we bought Spica? That wasn't Arkona, was it? What's the name of that? Come on, you're so good with names.
Is it near the Hallberg Rossi and all that?
Other coast.
Oh, okay.
The Hallberg Rossi. So we're jumping around here now, but they have a boat show every year called Up at Varv, where they basically have an open house of the whole factory, and then they also bring in other boats, and it's like a mini Annapolis boat show. Falcon's going to be in that this year, which will be fun.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's
we're just right place, right time. We're going to be there anyway.
So, how long?
Lignette, thank you.
How long has it been since you guys went sailing, actually sailing on your own? Was the last one the transatlantic on the first boat, on that Allied you had, or? Because the problem with this whole thing is that it happens to Simon, it happens to all of us if we try to get professional. It's like someone who loves to cook and they say, I'm going to become a chef.
Yeah.
And now they're just sitting there cooking, for other people so much they don't even cook for themselves anymore,
Well, we have the little boat. I mean, the last time we went anywhere of significance, yes, was on Arcturus in 2012 and 2011, 12, and 13. We did some serious sailing on that boat. We crossed the Atlantic in 2011. 2012, we went...
Was that 2011?
Yeah, right after we got married.
Same as you, Matt.
When I went around the Americas, you guys were doing that?
Same. We were cross paths with you.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Yeah,
I remember
it was the same
that.
year.
Yeah,
so
okay.
we went...
You should have went my way, so it was much nicer.
We left from St. Pierre, south of Newfoundland, and went to Ireland, and then left the boat in Northern Ireland over the winter, went back the following summer, sailed across the North Sea, around the bottom of Sweden, and then the summer after that, we put a new engine in the boat in the spring. You know Micah from Annapolis?
No, of course I know Micah.
He came over, he flew over to Sweden to help us install the new engine and stayed for 10 days. That was super fun. And then after that went in, we cruised around the Baltic for the whole summer. We did a lap around the Åland Islands, and then... That's probably the last time.
So you're working on a decade, basically, or a decade plus.
Of doing any real, serious sailing on our own boat. I mean,
right.
Eastbjorn, when we started
and for your
the
own
business,
reasons. It's not just your own boat. For your own reasons, this is your own goal. This is your own completely 100%.
And now, so two things came from that. So now we have this Norlene 34 Spica in Sweden.
Right.
And I actually have a wind vane in the garage. I ordered it from Cape Horn, Eve.
Oh,
Jelena,
yeah, sure.
Because I didn't, he's getting really old, and now I think his nephew took over the business, but I really wanted a Cape Horn, and I didn't know how long he was going to be making them.
Right.
So when we first bought Spica, I ordered one. I was like, I want one. It's still in the box that it was sent to me. So I have like ideas of taking that boat like across the Atlantic solo maybe, or now like I have Axel. Like I think it'd be cool to do it, the three of us sometime. I don't know yet, but what I was gonna say is I am much more satisfied now with just like puttering around on the lake where we live and like out in the archipelago and stuff. Like I don't have that need to like, I don't have to sail Spica across the Atlantic. Like I'm satisfied just puttering around at home. Because I got that out of my system. I still want to do that. I still like doing that.
Right.
And I still have, there's still things on my list I haven't done yet. But for the time being, like, when I lived in Annapolis and was working on the woodwind, sailing in circles out here on the bay, like, all I wanted to do was cross an ocean. And I did that a bunch now. And now I have that. I'm a lot more satisfied, I would say.
Well, that's
actually.
good. That's a great place to
be.
Yeah. That's a great place to be.
I'm not in as much of a hurry, put it that way. I have a lot more patience now with like the goals I have with what I want to do sailing wise.
God,
but
I feel like I have none of that.
Well, to your point though, I get it. Like
I need some of that, man. I need a good dose of that shit.
What we've been now, so I say this now, but like I have a plan in the works to maybe take Falcon around the world via the Southern Ocean in 2028. So like I'm still ambitious. I still have ambitions.
Right.
I have a calendar mapped out how that would look. Basically taking the Whitbread route, but making it 7 legs instead of 4. And you can go around the world from Sweden back to Sweden in 11 months via the Capes. Like,
yeah, and the Northwest Passage is a possibility. I know
I
that
wouldn't do
boat
that on
isn't a
Falcon.
great. Well, I mean, I did it on Alban Vega, so I mean, I understand.
not that you could, I'm not saying you couldn't. I just
Right.
it wouldn't.
It
I
would,
would do
it's
it
not.
on a
It's
different boat.
probably a wet boat, I imagine, because that thing's got to be fast.
It's actually not. It's not. It's a pretty. It's so big. It's a pretty dry boat.
Yeah.
But no, I
She's
would
fairly deep draft, which isn't the greatest for the Northwest
I would
Passage.
do. Yeah, exactly. But that's on the list too. But not on like on a chartered boat. I don't know. So I'm not like. Don't get me wrong. I'm not slowing down. But for my own sailing,
it takes some time. I mean,
but
why
I think
not?
Your point was saying like when you become professional at what you love, there's a danger in like burning out from that.
Yeah,
Is that
I
what you're
think
getting at?
Simon got to a point of at least 25 years of boat deliveries without one trip of his own. That's why I asked you, like, when was the last time you did a trip for yourself? The last time I did one was a trip around the Americas. That was 2011, 2012.
Yeah,
it's been
similar
all
time frame.
research ever since then. And it's not that we don't do cool shit and go to cool places, but it's not the same as being like, I want to sail here, so let's go here specifically on our own thing. 2015 was just me and Nicole. We went up to the Arctic and did a big project up there. And that was kind of close to it, In some ways, it was my favorite expedition we did with the nonprofit, only because it had a little bit of that.
The first boat.
It was on the first boat on the
Yeah.
42-foot Colvin Gazelle, but because it had sort of that feeling to it a bit,
Yeah.
I mean, we were still on a mission, and very driven to. We mapped like 1,200 miles. We had a single beam instead of a multi-beam. We didn't have as good of equipment,
Yeah.
And we were trying to get this NASA contract, which we did the next year. They didn't know what to make of us because we were just a little sailboat trying to act like we can actually do research over here. And they all looked at us like, what? But we did, and we did it, and they gave us a contract the next year. And the next year was, we had 2 crew and storms, and the first mate almost, mutiny on me and
That's
all
right.
that. All
yeah.
that
Didn't
shit
you get
happened.
towed around by some Danish military
A
ship
Danish
or something?
boat pulled us behind an island and then bounced. Gave us a little anchor, took off. We gave it back to him later on. But
Wow.
it didn't have no flukes. The anchor was like a rock, It was one of those things where the flukes are tiny, but it's just heavy as shit.
Yeah.
But anyways, I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to, dream of doing another big single-handed trip as my next sort of thing. But I look to the future, and, it would be great to get a boat. See, the thing is, the type of boat you need for a big, crazy single-handed trip is a very different type of boat than the type of boat that I would normally want for more of a round the world thing.
Yep.
But it'd be nice to get a boat in the future too that's a bigger, not as big as this boat, but a bigger boat that you just slowly take around the world. We got expeditions here, but maybe you can do a month here or 2 months there or whatever it is, or 3 months, and kind of stage it, and over a period of 5 or 7 or 10 years, you get her around the world. And then, during that 2-3 months, I mean, maybe you go nowhere. Maybe you leave from whatever, New Zealand or whatever it is, go up into some islands and wind up back in New Zealand 3 months later. I mean, who cares at that point? It doesn't make any. That's where cruising mentality, or the beauty of that, or maybe the appeal of that lifestyle, is that you're supposed to have no real set schedule. And you're just like, all right, if I like this town or I like this island, I'm going to hang out for a while. If I don't, I'm going to move to the next one and then the next one and the next country and the next continent. And, it's this super, it's almost Motissier vagabond sort of thought process, which is great, but completely unambitious outside of what you're doing.
That's the struggle, I think. It's like what we do, it's such a purpose that and I'm driven by that. Like, I really enjoy what we do, and I get a lot of satisfaction. Like, that trip to Greenland last year was like one of the coolest things I've ever done. And yeah, it was for the business. It wasn't for me, but like, wasn't it for me? I planned it. I wanted to go there.
Right.
It was on a fucking kick-ass boat that I built. Like, I don't know. Am I not doing what I want to do? That's what I wonder that sometimes. Like, I actually am not that interested in just aimlessly cruising around. Like, I'm doing exactly what I want to do.
Yeah, and there's a degree with that with me too, because like,
yeah, exactly.
I don't plan like where we go exactly, because that's up to the science. But I am the one who pointed it in the direction of the Arctic. I'm like, all right,
exactly.
as long as we're going up there, I don't really care. I let Nicole figure that out with the other scientists, and they tell me, all right, this fjord needs work, and this one's untapped, and this one would be really amazing if we could get in because nobody's gotten in there before, or whatever it is. And I'm like, ooh, all right, nobody's got in there. Let's try.
Let's go for that.
It sounds like a challenge, But yeah, there's definitely, I don't know. I mean, on one hand, it sounds really nice, like to have the mentality where you could be completely content in life, just like cruising around, like the Fatty Goodlander thing.
We're not those type of people. We're not those people, though.
Sail around and hang out and write articles,
I've been on
whatever.
Fatty Goodlander's boat. I interviewed him in BVI.
Yeah, he's a great dude, and I know nothing about him, but it just seems like there's no real right or wrong way to do it necessarily. But I do get, and I don't know if you get the same thing, but I hear from quite a few other sailors who've been sailing for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, and are kind of getting to that point where they're like, we want to do something, quote unquote, more meaningful, either with our sailing or life or whatever. Because I mean, how long can you just cruise around for the sake of cruising around?
That's it.
Until now, let's say you work hard. Let's say you had a family, you had kids, you work till you're like 64, you retire. And that's been your thing. Just go, I just want to cruise.
Full on relaxing.
Then by all means, you like worked your whole life for that shit and just go cruising and do it, But we're young enough. We're not in that situation. So it's, and a lot of these other people aren't either. They're not a 70-year-old dude telling me, oh my God, I'm cruising around and I feel like I need to be doing more. Because that guy would be like, I love this shit.
Exactly.
Just, park me in front of the beach and give me the rum.
Yeah, just let me sit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can't, like, I don't want for anything right now. I'm very happy with where everything is. It's taken a lot longer, but our business now is finally feels like it's stabilized to the point where things are like, we're in sort of maintenance mode instead of like build-up mode. And that feels really good. Both boats are newly refit. We've got a great staff. I get to pick the trips I want to sail. We still get to make the calendar. It's like, knock on wood, it's a happy place right now. Got my own boat we can cruise around on. And now also talking about mission, like half the reason we decided to do this Gotland Runt race this summer was now it gives us a mission for our family cruising. Because like we've got to get the boat now. Me and Axel have 6 weeks to get the boat from where it's kept now for the winter out through the lake, through the locks into Stockholm and out to the start of the race. And that's like, it's like 50 miles as the crow flies. It's not very far, but it gives us a purpose to get out there for the race and then get back again instead of just aimlessly meandering around.
Yeah, and it will
like
also
that.
make it keep you, force you to keep the boat in a proper condition.
Yeah, exactly.
'Cause you're not going to race with your lines half-ass or something. Everything has to be right.
What's cool, people are paying to do the race. So like when we get out to the start is in Sandhamn, this little island way out of the outermost part of the archipelago. It's like a beautiful spot. It's like the summer headquarters of the Royal Swedish Yacht Club. And they have a beautiful hotel there and like apartments. So me and the crew rented an apartment. So we have like a place because there's going to be 6 of us on the boat. It's a tiny boat. And we have a place to stay before and after the race. During the race, we can leave all our shit there. I can unload all the cruising gear off the boat, leave it in this apartment. The hotel has like awesome breakfast. So we're going to have like a really nice experience out of it as well. And then we race around Gotland and then come back to the apartment. And then they all go home and then my dad's coming over. So me and Axel are going to sail the boat then back to our house and over the next week after that. So it's a nice, gives a nice purpose to our summer cruising.
Yeah.
Instead of just
I wish
around.
I need to find, I'm so far on the opposite end of the finding peace spectrum. Like I am, like if my hair, that's why my hair is so short, man. If it was longer, I'd pull it out.
Pull it out.
Yeah, that's why I got to keep it short. No, it's like no matter how hard I work, I'm not working hard enough. No matter what I do, it ain't enough. It's like the opposite. It's like I'm happy with the boat, and this boat is finally. 2022 was a really fucking tough expedition because we were working through a lot of issues that you just couldn't find on land. You pop the boat in the water, you take it out. It's like, oh shit, the rudder bearing or whatever it is, and some issues with hitting ice and bending props and all this other stuff. But 2023 was a pretty smooth expedition. The boat was doing great. The boat now is great. I don't need to really do much to it for a while, outside of the basic kind of routine stuff. So that's good. That's really good. But it's just like there's so much more that needs to be developed in an organization because it's not where it's not even in the beginning of where it needs to be as far because normally nonprofits create the administrative side first,
right?
But you can't do that as a research organization because you got to create a track record because nobody wants to work with you. It's a chicken and the egg. Nobody wants to work with you without a track. And by the way, the egg came first, just randomly. You can't have a chicken without a fucking egg. The egg has to come first. It just has to happen. But anyways,
thanks for that. Now we know.
Yeah. Now you know.
Thanks.
It's the egg.
Great.
All right. But hypothetically, so it, I don't know. It's I want to hire some staff, but we're not selling a service. There's no income that comes in outside of like, please give me money, please give me money, which sucks on beyond itself.
Should we start the podcast with that? Please, that could be a remix. Please give me money. Please.
I can scratch it. I got turntables in the office, man. I can definitely mix it up. But.
Yeah, but all right. I want to go in. I want to ask though about the concept of finding peace because like there's one thing for me to say that like the business is doing all right and things are rolling along. That doesn't mean that I am at peace. Like there's two different things there because
fair enough.
I think that is a whole deeper question. So like what does it take to find like mental peace? I'm now on that topic. I happen to be more at peace mentally than I probably ever have been, but it has nothing to do with the business.
Well, the business. All right, let me just say, if the business was completely falling apart around you, it definitely wouldn't help the peace spectrum.
100% it wouldn't.
And if your financials are falling apart to the point where like you're going to get kicked out of your house or something like that, like so it does help. I mean, I'm not saying that peace is in the stability of a business or financial stability or anything like that, because obviously there's plenty of wealthy people that are miserable. But it helps. It helps to have
100%.
all these major, and you've built this company up from the ground, from the very, very, from scratch, and it's nice to be able to sit back now and look at this thing that you built. That's now, I mean, it doesn't operate itself, but at the same time, it is a motor that's running.
Yes.
Right. You're not dragging it up a hill by your teeth. It's somewhat of a well-oiled machine. You need to give it a lot of love, but it still moves along. But you're right. All those factors, you could theoretically be in a position where you create a business, it falls apart, and while it's falling apart, you still have peace.
Yes, that's what I'm getting at.
Theoretically.
It's like because, I went through this starting really when my mom died. I've talked about this a lot. I went through a long, slow process of becoming depressed, and it's only in the last 5 years that the last 5 years have been the worst of that. The last year I've started coming out of that, and part of it is to do with the fact that the business is running itself. Not running itself, but it's
moving.
More stable.
Right.
That's a big part. You're absolutely right. But I've done a lot of work otherwise, like going to therapy, going to, we were texting about CrossFit the other day. Like I keep telling people,
the exercise is good.
Dude, it's not, but that's what it's not. It's not just the I've joined this CrossFit gym in September, knowing that, because where I live, the problem, what we have is we live in the middle of nowhere. And when I'm not on the boat, like I love being on the boat. I love being around people. I love being around like my sailing friends. When I'm in Annapolis, I see you're here, Ryan and Sophie here, all my friends. When I'm home in Sweden, like we live on a farm in the middle of nowhere and I don't see people at all. And I thought a long time ago that like I can do that. I'm back, I'm home, I can rest. I don't need to see people. I'm just going to be alone. And that's actually really hard to do. So recently I was like, I actually need to find like humanity. I need to be around people. So I joined this CrossFit gym that Mia was saying for years I should have done, and I finally did it. And yes, the exercise is great for mental health, but I was doing that anyway. But the difference is I get it with a group of people that I've now become friends with and that know me, and it's like a community that I have. And
Right. Well, that's nice.
that has changed my mental health outlook more than anything else combined. Just this now that when I'm not, because when I'm in my element around the boats and stuff, I'm great. I'm at my best. It's when I'm off of that and out of my comfort zone that I'm just like kind of lost.
Well, and there's other elements. I know you speak the language over there pretty well, but
Yeah, but culturally, man, I am not Swedish.
Yeah,
Not at all.
Right. And it's hard because it's remote. It's a country you weren't born in. It's a culture that's different than your culture. It's a lot of fish out of the water shit where you're just kind of flopping around trying to do your best.
I've made friends at this gym now, and it's like I keep saying it. It's like ridiculous, but it is the best thing that's happened to me. And like that more than anything else, that I now have a community of people that I relate to that has nothing to do with sailing is like the best.
Right. No, that makes sense. Well, I say exercise is good because for me personally, because it gives me a feeling of productivity. And I've always thought for a long, long time, they got all the antidepressants like the Prozac, and then for a while
I
you
was
were
on
seeing
it for 2.5 years, not Prozac, but something
they
else.
started me on Prozac when I was 13.
Fucking
I got off when I was 16. I just quit taking Ritalin, Prozac. I was on everything. They gave me, they're just feeding me pills, which is also terrible for a kid because it tells them that drugs can fix your problems on some level, and ain't going to fix your problems. And then they had a period of like a year or 2 or 3 in America where they had all these commercials about antidepressants you take on top of your antidepressants, which is the fucking crazy shit. If your antidepressant is not working, take this on top of your
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck? So I've thought that for a long time that productivity is the world's greatest antidepressant. If you feel like you're being productive in life, you're moving forward in life, you're making some kind of accomplishments, that you're going to be okay. But when you feel like your wheels are spinning and you're not doing shit with yourself and you're stuck, then you start getting depressed. Oh, there's Laz out there looking through the window. And then Laz comes and knocks on the door. But yeah, I mean, I need to get more into that. But it is good to build communities outside of sailing, because I know you and I are so goddamn entrenched in this shit.
That's it.
That it's hard to break outside of it.
Yep.
And yeah, I don't know. Maybe I need to. I mean, CrossFit has its back and forth too, though. Like, first off, I look at half the shit they're doing. Like a bad CrossFit gym, I look at that shit like that is a good way to get injured.
Well,
throwing these weights around. I'm like, how many people like pull some crazy ligament doing that shit?
But what's up, Laz? We're just shooting the shit. So, but we're recording the shit. No, well, so I was all anti-CrossFit for a long time because I thought it was like a cult, and it kind of is.
Yeah,
people
yeah.
that get really into it, but like, man, it's not that at all. It's like, even here, I said I went to the gym just down the street from the other day, and they're like, yeah, like I got to know these people just the other day, and I signed up, and I'm gonna go there now probably a couple times a week when I'm in Annapolis.
Jiu-jitsu's probably like that too.
Anything that's like group orientated, I
right.
think gives you the same thing. Mano, one of our first mates, he's from Switzerland. He sailed across the Atlantic with me. He's super into karate, some special type of karate. But by the way, he's the fittest dude I've ever seen in my life. He was doing talk about making you feel sorry for yourself. Like the crew, we had a very easy downwind passage, and some of the crew were into like exercising and stuff. So they would do these little exercise routines like in the morning in the cockpit, because Falcon's cockpit's like nice and big and flat.
No, yeah, it's huge.
And he was doing photobomb. He was doing one-arm push-ups in the cockpit. He did like 150 consecutive one-arm push-ups.
150?
One arm and then the other arm and then the other arm.
Jesus Christ.
And I was like, dude. So anyway,
we used to do sets of 50 push-ups thinking we were something special, back when I was in my early 20s.
Well, Mano's in the cockpit showing off, but my point is he's got this karate thing at home. He lives on a boat. He lives on a boat in not Lake Geneva, the other big Lake Neuchâtel in Switzerland, on like a 36-foot like aluminum. It's really cool. You'd love it. It's right up your alley, like a aluminum high latitudes kind of looking thing.
Well, it's a Koopman.
It's not. It's something. I think it's French.
I love a Koopman.
They're cool.
I've been looking at Koopmans quite a bit.
They are cool.
Around 36. There's that. They call it a 37 Koopman, which I don't get because it's 36 like 0.06. It should be a 36 Koopman all day. They call it a 37, but that would be a really nice single-handed. Let's go around the world. Sort of boat. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know where the or how you find. I need to find some. I need to find some. I need to relieve some of this stress or find something, because the problem is then you relieve stress through alcohol and ganja. Then you find other ways to relieve it, and it's not healthy. And I'm fine all day. I'm working all day, and I always feel like I'm behind. Because I got so many stupid shit to do.
I'm the same way.
And then I get to the end of the night, and it's like I could keep working all night too, But
So I think, and this is like, people like you and me are like cursed in that we have that drive that has made us successful, but it's hard to turn it off. So I think the only way that I've found to be able to like relax is to take that energy and apply it to something else that is lower stakes. So like I can't relax and just sit around at home. I got to be doing something, like you said, the productivities type thing. And that's where I found this outlet. Like I
can if I roll a doobie. If I roll a doobie, I can watch a movie. You know, I can smoke a doobie and I can watch a movie, and I'll be fine for that like couple hours. Then I'll eat too much food like at 11 o'clock at night, which totally screws up any exercise diet routine. And then you wake up the next day right in the same situation you started, which is, oh shit, I got all this to do. Oh shit, I'm behind. We got another expedition. We got to get better equipment. How am I going to get better equipment? I don't know. We got to go here. Got to do there.
It's a dangerous cycle. And then the other thing is, when you get successful, you want more of it. So like, you know, I'm entertaining thoughts of, do we get another boat? Do we get another FAR 65 exactly like Falcon and put one in the Pacific and one in the Atlantic?
Well, it's a good thought to have,
but
honestly.
When do you? Yes, like it would probably work.
Well, I'm trying to build a fleet of boats myself.
It probably work, but like, why? Like, what's the point? What are we trying to do here? Like, I don't.
Well, yeah, if it's not a profit thing, right? Because but
even if it is, like, when is enough enough? Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
well, yeah, I don't know, because you still talking. Bill Gates invests heavily in stocks. He shorts Tesla and does all this kind of stuff.
That's just money.
Yeah, but these are guys who already have so much money. Like Zuckerberg was trying to create his own currency at one point, and the government said no.
That's what I'm trying to avoid. I don't want to become that. I want to be happy with what
in that mentality. It's nothing is ever enough until you have every dollar on the earth. It's not enough.
So what I'm saying is, you need to take that energy and focus it on something else.
Your time is your time, right? You only get so much of it. And that's all you got. You only got so much time to spend with Mia. You only got so much time to spend with your kid. You only got so much time to just hang out and be downtime, like, or your parents or whatever it is. You know, like, you only got so much time, and that is beyond the value of money.
Yep.
So, you know, do you want to take all that and pursue it simply to make more, to make more, to make more, to make more? That said, a second boat you could probably swing, but how much more would that put on your plate? I'm sure you could swing it. I'm sure. I have no doubt if you wanted to do it, you could do it, no problem.
Yeah.
But do you want to change how things are now? Because you seem pretty happy the way things are now.
Yeah. Well, we got other ideas. We have this idea. You asked me, can we not talk about anything? We might as well talk about it. It's just a brainstorm. But we have this brainstorm idea that you get we call it an alumni boat. So you get like a cruising boat.
Right.
That crew that have sailed with us that want to buy their own boat but don't want the full hassle of like boat ownership, but they want to be able to cruise in certain places on a nicer boat than a charter boat. So you get like a group of former 59 North crew to buy like a nice cruising boat. And then that cruising boat is used for a few months in the Caribbean, a few months in the Med, a few months in Canada, whatever, and we move it around.
So this boat is bought equally by.
It's not owned by us. It would owned by.
Do you like make it an LLC of some sort, or a European LLC?
Owned by a group of owners.
Okay.
Say 4 owners or something.
Right.
That want to use this like a timeshare type of thing.
Oh, okay.
They own the
boat.
We manage the boat, so we manage all the maintenance. We move it from place to place.
Right.
And then they use it to cruise locally in wherever the cruising grounds they want to go.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty interesting to me and appealing, because it's like a way for people that have done trips with us before, be like, hey, I want to try this on my own boat, but I'm not quite ready for I don't want to own a boat by myself because I don't have the time or the knowledge or whatever to use it. So we effectively manage it, offset some of their ownership costs by running the maintenance, and then we move it between cruising grounds and sell bunks on the passages. So that iron is in the fire at the moment.
Yeah, and our website.
Your website?
Our website.
What's
Laz
that?
was part of that. That whole, what do you mean, what was that? The delivery scenario?
That
remember
website.
that thing?
Yeah,
I don't know if it's a website or what the hell.
I didn't really like that idea.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
That's why I forgot about it.
It's a wonderful idea.
I mean, it's not a. It's a good. There's a lot of good ideas.
I'm not saying it's a big.
Talking about putting your time. Where do you want to put your time?
Well, the point was that we didn't have to put a lot of time into it. That was.
I literally that went like in one ear and out the other. I apologize. I do remember this now, but Laz and I had a conversation about that, and I was like, yeah, cool idea, but I don't have time for this.
Well, then I guess you'll be cut out of the scenario.
Well, when you guys become millionaires, I'll be like,
no,
well,
it's
shit,
not
I
a
missed
big
the
money
boat.
making thing. It just doesn't exist. There
I
is
get
no there's nowhere for somebody to go and just find delivery skippers.
I completely forgot about this
idea.
What are you going to call it?
I don't know. Well, it seems
us.
like and I talked about this a long time ago on the podcast, but we had one in the United States. It was run by a guy named Jack Roden, and that's where Simon started doing deliveries back in like the 90s. And this was a company. If you want your boat delivered, you call, just like calling FedEx if you want your package moved or something. You call them up and they say, okay, I got this skipper that can do this on this date. Well, that's somewhat antiquated way of doing it. Plus, it creates liability for the owner because if the skipper fucks up, it can get back on the owner.
Yep.
So trying to take that out of the situation, but create a database where online that people can go into to find skippers for their boat delivery.
This could also just be part of the quarterdeck. Like we have this quarterdeck platform thing, and you could have that. That could be a part of that. That already exists. So
well, this doesn't exist on the quarterdeck. You could take my idea and put it on your goddamn quarterdeck.
No, I'm not going to take your idea.
You could do that.
I'm just saying,
yes.
you could build on that, and that could be your thing.
The whole point isn't about making a lot of money, though, either. I'm not looking at this as some money-making thing. I mean, I just think it would be interesting for there to be a location that people could go to. It's almost like a dating app of some sort, right? Where you saw all the different skippers with the resumes, and you can pick the skipper you want for your boat.
Yeah.
And they can get back and say they can do it or they can't do it or whatever.
I mean, Hank Schmidt sort of does that, but with crew on OPO. Like, that's the OPO thing where he matches crew to owners and stuff, but that's not skippers.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't be on their boats. You wouldn't have you have complete liability firewall. See,
this is the problem with people like us. Like, you have to take this energy and you got to decide where you're going to channel it because you're gonna come up with ideas. Like, I'm sure you have 1,000 other ideas similar to that. Because so do I.
Well, I wish I had 1,000 ideas. Yeah, no, whatever. I mean, I'm just trying to get at this point. I need to get better scientific equipment for the vessel.
Yeah.
It would be nice if I can get a boat together, do another big, crazy single-handed trip. It'd be nice to talk about finding peace. Like, there's very few places in my life where I can find peace more than being alone in the ocean on a really long trip. Because every moment of every day, you are exactly where you're supposed to be.
Yep.
Every moment of every day, you're being exactly the maximum level of productive that you need to be because you're moving along to the next waypoint. Even if you're going 1 knot, it doesn't matter.
Yep.
You don't have those pressures of an organization or a company or worrying about selling berths or worrying about getting equipment or the next grant or the next whatever the fuck. Like, all that is just gone. Land is gone. Like, every aspect of land is gone. And it's just you in the ocean. And it's lonely and it can be a fucking terrible son of a bitch, obviously. It can be, the Arctic is hard. The Arctic is super hard. I found it a lot harder than Cape Horn, and Cape Horn was hard.
Yeah.
But, and that's why Randall Reeves, when he did a figure 8, didn't do the Arctic nonstop, and, it's still a hell of a thing to do single-handed regardless. Going through Northwest Passage, up Baffin Bay, around the Bering Sea, all that single-handed is still a real tricky thing. But to do it single-handed and nonstop, you can't run from the storms. You just got to hang out with the ice in the storms. Like, it's...
you're penned in.
Yeah, and in Northwest Passage especially, you got lee shores all over the damn place.
I mean, that's the one thing, like, I give you shit that I've sailed further north than you now, but, like, I've never done a single-handed trip, and that's the one thing still on my list that I really would like to do, but I also wonder, are those days, is that, like, over now, because I've got a kid, and I've got, like, I'm more interested in sailing, like, I'd like to sail across the Atlantic on Spica with him.
I've also sailed to the Arctic 6 times.
That's fine.
Just saying.
It's fine. It's fine. No, I
no, but look,
that's the one thing I want. I just want to see what it's like. I don't know what it's like.
What do you have in your area? Is there a nice 100-mile passage? You need at least your boat does more than 100 miles a day.
I was going to say you need it needs
like a 600-mile passage or something. You need to spend a couple 2-3 days.
You
could do. You go to like St. Petersburg or something. How far is St. Petersburg?
Away. It's still only 300 miles to St. Petersburg.
No shit.
Yeah,
that's not really long enough.
No, exactly. But like I said, I got the wind vane. Axel, it's very cute now. Axel, he looks at the globe before bed. We have like a little light up globe in his room, and he knows where we live in Sweden. He knows where Pappy lives, my dad, in Pennsylvania. He knows where the Caribbean is, and he knows where Cape Horn is. And every time we go, I go, Axel, where's Cape Horn? And he goes, way, way, way down here. He spins the globe and points to it. It's like, attaboy. So, but he says now his thing is like, because he calls Spica his boat. said, Axel, where do you want us to go? He's like, I want to sail to the Caribbean. It's like, okay, where are we gonna do that? On Spica, on my boat. So like, it's like, all right, Axel, we actually could do that. Like, yes, we could do that.
Well, and that would be a nice single-handed passage to the Caribbean, the Canaries Caribbean. That's a cake run.
That's what I want to do.
That's a nice, or cake walk, whatever, milk run. Don't they call it the milk run?
Milk run, yeah.
Yeah, it's an easy passage,
Yeah.
but it's
Well, I
still
just
long
did it
enough
on
out
Falcon.
there. How was that? Was it all right?
Like in 10 days, we didn't touch the sheets. It was amazing. It was
Yeah.
so easy.
Well, when I did it,
we averaged 201 miles a day.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that boat's that's a
And
monster.
that wasn't and that was only putting the kite up for maybe 48 hours total. The rest was just wing on wing with the. We never reefed, never had a drop of rain.
In
not a
the
single
whole
squall.
trip?
No, nothing.
Wow. So it took me 28 days when I went to Gambia to Antigua, and I put in one reef twice because of a squall passing for 5 minutes or whatever, 20 minutes.
So you were pretty, because I left from Cape Verde, which is just around the corner.
Yeah,
from
I was at the
Gambia,
same latitude.
so
Was that like 13 or something?
Exactly,
yeah, I stayed down around 13 a lot of the time, and then I jumped up.
We went to I went to Barbados, so you went a little further.
Yeah, I never been to Barbados. I went right past it going around the Americas.
Cool.
At night. Yeah. It was the first time I've seen a landmass in a while, of any real sort, like a long, I mean, maybe like the whole trip, actually. It probably was the first time, actually, in the whole trip. And it was day 200 and goddamn 80 or something. Damn. And Barbados was all lit up, because all the houses and people. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I was maybe like 4 or 5 miles off it, because Barbados sticks out to sea further than the rest of the island
100
chain.
And some miles. Or something.
Yeah, like way out to sea.
Yep.
So it was just kind of, and I went along it, and I just sat there and looked at the lights and watched the cars. You could see the headlights moving around and shit, and and it was real. Cool. It was real interesting.
Should we wrap this up so we can get your generator out?
Yeah,
now that Laz is standing here looking at us and making me uncomfortable because he's not sitting down.
All right.
Cool.
All right, sounds good.
All right, what are we going to talk about on the next double-handed podcast?
No, we can talk about your first mushroom experience.
I haven't had it yet.
Exactly. I got you.
All right. Peace.
Yep.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode. Reminder to join us on the quarterdeck. That's quarterdeck.59-north.com to talk to Mia, myself, August, and the rest of the 59 North skippers and mates, and this awesome community we've built on all things seamanship. We'll see you on the quarterdeck. On the Wind is the podcast about sailing, created by 59 Degrees North and hosted by me, Andy Schell, and also by August Sandberg, Emma Garshagen, and occasionally Ben Doer. The show is mixed and produced in Frederick, Maryland by Lee Cumberland. Ads are read by us, the hosts, and occasionally by 59 North's bosun Adam Brown and podcast producer Lee Cumberland. Episode artwork and website show notes are done by Laura Parent in San Francisco. The intro theme music is composed and performed by former podcast guest and musician Cameron Dale, while the outro music you're hearing now is, of course, by our friends, the Storm Weather Shanty Choir. We love hearing from our fans, so send your questions and comments to holdfast@59-north.com, and please do us a favor and review the show on iTunes or wherever else you get your podcasts. Until next time, hold fast.
I made up me mind that I was inclined to go to sea no more. No more, no more, to go to sea no more. I made up me mind that I was inclined to go to sea no more. As I was walking down the street, I met sweet Angeline. She said, come home with me, me lad, and we'll have a cracking time. But when I awoke, it was no joke. I found I was all alone. My silver watch and my money too, and my whole bloody gear was gone. Was gone, was gone. My whole bloody gear was gone. It was when I awoke As I was walking down the street, I met Big Rapper Brown. I asked him if he would take me in, and he looked at me with a frown. He said,
last time you was paid up with me, you took up no score. But I'll take your advance and I'll give you a chance to go to sea once more.
once more, to go to sea once more. I'll take your advance and I'll give you a chance to go to sea once more. Sometimes we're catching whales, me lads, but mostly we get none. With a 20-foot oar in every paw from 5 o'clock in the morn. And when daylight's gone and the night's coming on, we rest upon our oars. And oh boys, you wish that you was dead or snug with the girls ashore. Ashore, ashore, or snug with the girls ashore. Oh boys, you wish that you was dead or snug with the girls ashore. Come all you seafaring lads that listen to me song. When you go a big boating, boys, make sure you do not go wrong. You take my tip when you come off a trip, don't go with any whores. But get married instead and have all night in bed and go to sea no more. No more, no more, to go to sea no more. Get married instead and have all night in bed and go to sea no more. No more, no more, to go to sea no more. Get married instead and have all night in bed and go to sea no more.